Are we being challenged on what we believe? Now, I believe that there was people, wise men and shepherds, that came to Yeshua's birth. But you understand the deception. What's the greatest way that the enemy can deceive those that really want to know the truth and to serve the truth, is to believe a lie and to think what you are serving is the truth. Okay? And you think you are, and it's deceived. That's the ultimate deception. Okay? In other words, this is Jesus, but it's not really Jesus. I think it's coming down to that. All right. Let me look at Catholic timetable before I move any further. Over here. And if you think this is just for Catholics today, you have Lutherans and Methodists and other people that keep these things. They're keeping them right now because we're in what we call Lent. But everything begins with Mardi Gras. Everybody heard of Mardi Gras? And New Orleans and all that? What's that about? Well, and Mardi Gras is a French term. It means Fat Tuesday. So it happens on a Tuesday. It happened several weeks ago. And this is how the Catholic Church, they teach that this is a day where you eat, fat food and cakes and pastries and all that, stuff that's not good for you, indulge one more time, because Lent you got to do some fasting, And this is a time where you wear masks and you have these carnivals and you have all these massive, got kids here, sexual things that are not appropriate. And you have all this going on, just wild parties, and we associate that with New Orleans, because that's how it's kind of came into our country today. And New Orleans is just the icing on the cake to where it all originated from, but it came from Catholicism. And what the Catholic Church was taught was that you got to go through a series of 40 days of Lent that follows the next day on Wednesday, and you can't sin. You got to fast. You got to get close to God. You got to get close to Jesus. So get it out of your system. Go ahead and get all that sin out, and go ahead and sin. And that's basically what they're saying. Okay. The next day after Mardi Gras, it's always a Tuesday, is Ash Wednesday. Ash Wednesday is the first day of the 40 days of Lent, and we'll talk about where that comes from in a second. But they would, the priests usually, they'll take ashes from palm branches and they'll put them on the foreheads of the adherents and all that. And they got all this stuff about Friday fish and all this during those weeks and all that. But the first day of Lent will last for 40 days, and the 40th day always ends up on I think it ends on a Sunday or the Saturday before, but it comes to Palm Sunday, which ends the 40 days of Lent, and that's always 1 week before Easter. Now, think about this. Really think, is Palm Sunday biblical?
Well, yeah.
Is it?
Palms are, yeah.
How do you know it was a Sunday?
I can't say it's Sunday, though.
Right. It's a tradition that we pull things out and we make things out of, okay? Well, we didn't, but now you have the week before Easter, because Easter's on a Sunday, okay? And so you have a week before. Now, Maundy Thursday. Maundy Thursday is during that week. This is the day that the Catholic Church says that this is when the Last Supper took place. That's what they call it, Maundy Thursday. I don't know what Maundy. They didn't want to call it Passover. They didn't want to call it Passover. Yeah, and plus it wasn't even at the time of Passover anymore. It's kind of pulled away from it. And then the next day, Good Friday, of course, is the crucifixion of Jesus. And then Sunday, Easter, is the resurrection of Jesus. And there's another date you need to know about here, March 25th. When's March 25th this year? Tomorrow. I'll have something to say about that before I close. March 25th is tomorrow. The Catholic faith celebrates this as the Annunciation of Mary. In other words, this is when Gabriel spoke to Mary that she was going to conceive Jesus. Okay? They say it happened on March 25th. Not only that, she was immaculately conceived herself. Mary was, and that means she's a goddess, and she wasn't. And on this day, but she conceived Jesus on this day, March 25th, and exactly 9 months later, who was born? What day is that? Okay. This date right here. I don't have a marker. This day right here is March 25th, believe it or not, is the original date before Constantine changed the date of Easter Sunday in all the pagan religions. March 25th. What's being told here, here's the situation in paganism. Thank you, brother. Here's the situation with this paganism. Constantine came around and with all the divisions and with Christianity and all that, and, he had to play the role a little bit to get the Christians involved, that he changed this to the first Sunday after the full moon of the spring equinox. Whenever that falls, which could be anywhere from March into April, that's when Easter Sunday will be, and that's what we celebrate Easter today. So the spring equinox has happened, March 21st, 22nd. You have to wait for the next full moon after that, and then it's the Sunday after that full moon. And that's why we have Easter Sunday on the 8th of April this year. Just an arbitrary thing he did to unify his empire under, this is the day you're going to do it. But before that time, it can be shown historically that March 25th, Easter was celebrated in all the pagan religions. Actually, it's based on, and you've heard this before, it's based on the Babylonian goddess Ishtar, which is phonetically pronounced Easter. Okay? And so that's where it comes from. All the bunny rabbit's eggs and all that and everything you want to think about all comes from that. But the concept here is, and it goes back to Babylon, and it goes back to Ishtar, Nimrod, and then Tammuz and all that, and I'm skipping some things for the sake of time here. In your written things, and you can read that, and I'm sure you'll be able to pick it up from there, that what is going on here is that it goes back to Nimrod. Supposedly he died, and when he died, he went up to the sun god, and he actually became the sun god. They called him the Baal, or the Baal in Hebrew. And you've heard of Baal in the Old Testament. Baal is the sun god in the Phoenician religion. Okay,
Is that the one they would sacrifice the babies?
that's Moloch, which is related to Baal. Okay, it's just an offshoot of that. But anyway, Nimrod. This is the myth is that he died, became the sun god, became Baal, and the rays of Baal, the rays of the sun god, impregnated Ishtar, the Virgin Mother, and in her was the son that was conceived on March 25th, and it was to be the reincarnation of the sun god. So the reincarnation of the sun god in the womb of the Queen of Heaven, the Mother Goddess, took place on the original Easter. That's what when you say Easter is all about. It's the reincarnation of the sun god. It has nothing to do with Jesus or Yeshua, the Son of God. And then 9 months later, on December 25th, that reincarnation of the sun god came out in Tammuz, or whoever you want to call him, whatever culture you're in. And this cycle is played out every year with the harvest cycle of the ancient land. And so what a deception. And Christianity basically just took all this and they called it Christianity in the 4th century. And now we want to look at some other things that I think both. Let me grab these sheets again, the squares. So I got everything sitting everywhere. Okay. Let's go to, real quickly, page 2 on Buddha, the Buddha thing. Tammuz, Ishtar, Semiramis. Semiramis was supposedly the name of Nimrod's wife. She became associated later with Ishtar. Tammuz was supposedly born on December 25th in the literature, and this is where everything came from here. Now, it developed over time in Babylon a little bit. Remember, when the languages came at Tower of Babel, there was still Nimrod and the core people that stayed there and spoke the language whatever they were given in that area of Babylon. And this religion continued to develop there, and it eventually took on this thing of Tammuz. Now, you can find Tammuz in the Old Testament. And you have this in your notes, so just listen. Jeremiah 7 and 18 says that, now the tribe of Judah became so corrupt they were using the temple for pagan practices. That's how bad it got. They made cakes to the Queen of Heaven. The Queen of Heaven is the Virgin Mother in all paganism. And in this case, it was Babylon, referring to Ishtar. Jeremiah chapter 44, they said they burned incense to the Queen of Heaven, Ishtar.